All right, mates, welcome back. JL Scott Fishing and Eats. Hope everybody's doing well. We are going to talk a little bit about Terrain 360, which is a great resource you can use online if you're ever interested in checking out the footage of areas in which you want to fish. Here today, we're going to talk about Dam 4 on the Upper Potomac, which is basically right below the Route 34, which crosses the Upper Potomac in Shepherdstown on the West Virginia side, Maryland on the eastern side. And between Route 34 and Dam 4, you're going to have the Princess Street boat ramp. So that boat ramp is going to be above the actual dam number 4. So keep that in mind. However, there's another access point right below the dam that you can get to. Most people access that on the Maryland side off of Canal Road, the C&O Canal parking, where you can go down. But there is another access point into the river, especially if you want to kayak, right below the dam as well. If you're a follower of the Smallmouth Army on Facebook, JL Scott Fishing and Eats on Facebook, you'll know what I'm talking about. That access area is not as well known. It's probably not on most maps, but it's certainly awesome to get in there and get up to the dam and be able to fish for walleye and smallmouth under the dam area. And so that is basically where this is starting here today. Let's see if I can slow it down just a little bit for you. To give you an idea of, you can use this box here on the left, the map box will give you an idea. You can move that over if you're looking for areas, off the bank. If you're using this as a model to find a place to fish off the bank or to wade fish, kayak fish, or just find pockets, along this stretch. Down in the corner, you've got basically the travel time, okay, in miles, all right? And you can plug this in and use the Terrain 360 for really, depending on, they've got drone footage for different sections of different rivers, the Potomac, the Susquehanna, the James especially, and it can give you a good idea of your float trip. It can give you a good idea of those things. As you're coming down the river here from Dam 4, again, Dam 4 is a really good walleye and smallmouth spot. You can get up that. You can run upriver to the dam, obviously from access points along the Maryland side, especially as you get downriver, as this is actually, this video is going downriver, so it's giving you an idea of the stretch, okay, that runs. Remember, Canal Road runs adjacent to the river on the Maryland side, basically all the way up. It's an extension of the C&O Canal, towpath road, in terms of river road. There's the locks, and when the locks stop, then there's still road that you can take you up towards Dam 4. You're going to come across Antietam Creek Campground, which is obviously on the Maryland side. And then obviously Antietam Creek, which is going to empty into the Upper Potomac. That is a great little spot. All the creeks really where they empty into the Potomac are good spots, the mouths. Doesn't matter whether they're creeks or tributaries like the Monocacy, and stretches of the Upper Potomac. It really, really just depends on the water levels. If the water level's been down like it's been this summer consistently, it's a little tougher. As we get into fall, there'll be a lot of activity because you will see a lot of the smallmouth bass will begin to push bait fish up into those creek areas. And a lot of these creeks have like aqueducts, like Monocacy does, a little off the creek mouth, that kind of act as like obviously man-made structure in that regard. So it's really, really, really pretty, productive areas, especially in the fall when we see that transition and this reposition going down, okay? And you can see here what I'm talking about. Look at that spot on the right there, right in here. And you can adjust this too to however you want. If whatever kind of action that you want on your terrain when you're looking at this, in terms of visuals. See, I can move that, take a look at what I want in that regard. So it's really, really cool. So you've got Antietam Creek. That's really the first. There are a few others just like small, but Antietam Creek's the first real major creek in that stretch at the Antietam Aqueduct across from Knott Island that you're going to find on the Upper Potomac in this kind of run section here. But you can really get an idea here with Terrain 360 of what you're looking at, right? What you're looking at with islands, what you're looking at with rocks, and them, depending on the footage and the drone of this at the time. Obviously, this is not the condition of the river currently. The river is down considerably, less than 2 feet and a foot in a lot of places. So you're going to have a lot more exposed rock, okay, than you are going to see in this particular video. We'll do a lot more footage coming up in the fall as we run these stretches for fall, doing a lot of videography, a lot of video footage of these stretches on the water. Okay, to give you that perspective as opposed to a drone perspective. So it'll be a companion to this, but this is a great, great tool to use when you're scouting areas or you're planning a fishing trip. Okay, so Knott Island runs down around the bend. The bend after, if you're going downriver after Shepherdstown Battlefield. River Road on the Maryland side is the other road. I'm sorry, on the West Virginia side. Canal Road is on the Maryland side. And when you get further downriver, there's a River Road on the Maryland side. Okay, so it gets kind of nutty. But you got Harpers Ferry Road also that kind of runs into the Aqueduct area, and then out of Antietam Creek, and it heads down. More like in an in a more southeastern direction from the aqueduct. And you're going to get the old railroad, the old C&O Canal, all that is going to begin to come into play as you make your way downriver to the Canal Lock 37. Which has a different kind of names, but there's a kayak access point at Mountain Lock 37, called Canal Lock 37, Mountain Lock. People call it Lime Kiln. There is an access point, a canoe access point right there on the Maryland side of that very small area, but you certainly can access the river there, and from that point on down. As you make your way, some people will do that to the boat ramp around the bend. The boat ramp that's off of Back Road on the Maryland side, Dargan Bend. We just call it the Bend, but there's a boat ramp there right across. I think Riverkeeper Inn, I think, is on the West Virginia side of that, from that boat ramp area. But a lot of people do that float from 37 down towards that boat ramp and get off the river. It's a very, very short float for sure. But again, it's just one of the popular ones in that part of the area. In terms of baits and things like that in this section, it really all depends on when you're getting out. Late summer, you really are going to stick to early morning top water, and then transition to crankbaits for the most part in a lot of these sections. Obviously, you throw a whopper, popper, choppa, all kinds of stuff. A lot of people will go out and throw chatterbaits, but just make sure you're downsizing your baits in late August, early September. To match that bait fish. If you're throwing these big profile chatterbaits and these big profile baits, you're not nearly going to have as much success as if you are downsizing to match the bait fish as you're coming down the river here. And you can see where this is actually a shallower point, right, in this section, okay? And you see that in how that sets up with the topography. Okay, the ripple, the run, there's no rapids in these sections. In that traditional sense, that are going to be hazards, for most people. It's mostly flat water coming down until you're going to get down further down where you can run that. You're going to run into a little bit more faster water as the elevation changes. Okay. Right in that section that you just show up was Canal 36, Harpers Ferry Campground, okay, on the West Virginia side, the old Dam 3 ruins, okay, the old Dam 3 ruins, and then Canal Lock 36 and Lock 35, okay. This is where you're getting around the bend. I think there's Huckleberry campsite on the bend. It's a Fort Duncan area. And you've got like 3 canal locks, 36, 35, 34, right in that area that are going to provide you access points. Sandy Hook access is a kayak canoe access. Okay, dam number 3 has got a canoe and kayak access as well. Okay, so these are areas that you can hit up. All right, House Falls Canal is the historic site that's located right there at Canal Lock 35. Okay, and you're going to come down, and this is where you're going to start to get into a lot more islands and a lot more kind of like your river breaks. You're going to have to pick a left or a right side of the island that you're going to want to go. Okay, left side or right side. Left side's going to be Maryland. Right side's going to be Virginia, and then obviously West Virginia, and then obviously Virginia as you get further down, below Harpers Ferry and all of that mess. Okay. But as in this section from Dam 4 to Harpers Ferry, you basically have your reciprocal licensing from Virginia and West Virginia, okay, or Maryland and West Virginia. And so either one of those licenses is going to work as you get in through here and approaching here on the video, as we get closer to, these canal locks, a lot more rock, a lot more island, heading down. Now, remember, you also have that confluence that's going to happen, okay? As you get past Burns Island, as you get past all that, coming down to Harpers Ferry, okay? You then are going to run into your steep drops, the B&O Railroad Bridge, Maryland Heights, the Appalachian Trail, C&O Towpath, Sandy Hook Road on the Virginia side, on Maryland side, sorry. And that bridge there, and then you've got the Shenandoah River, okay? So with that part of that Shenandoah is pretty like whitewatery, rocky, very hazardous, and a lot of times of the year, you've got the staircase, rapids, you've got all of that, really between that Harpers Ferry access point, which is William Wilson, Shenandoah River Bridge, where the staircase is, to the confluence of the upper Potomac, okay? And in that area, a lot of times you are going to be out of, certain times of year, you're going to be out of your kayak because it's just going to be all rock and shallow water. Other times of year, it's going to be dangerous, okay? During high water situations that you probably don't want to go through that Shenandoah Falls area, in that stretch unless you're an experienced kayaker, okay? But again, that's the Shenandoah confluence with the upper Potomac, which is right at the John Brown's Fort, okay? Beautiful. Harpers Ferry is a beautiful historic town. There's plenty to do. There's plenty of guides. There's plenty of rafting. There's plenty of things, that interest a lot of people in the town from a historical perspective, as in opposed to just fishing. But again, you'll get that here. Here it comes up here. It's going to show, what more lies ahead here, the river. But it's basically until you get northwest until Dam 3, really. Once you get below Dam 3 ruins, that's when you're going to get into a lot more rock, a lot more of that topography, very similar to the Piedmont section of the locks, like right below Old Dam 2 and Pennyfield and Swains Lock, where depending on your water levels, that's going to determine a lot of your flow rate, how long it's going to take you to river float, and it's going to impact your fishing decisions, okay, and your fishing catch rates, okay. Remember, these smallies are constantly moving. They will move up to 5 to 6 miles in some instances. Okay, we're about ready to see enter into this repositioning happening in the fall. If you notice, the temperatures have gotten a little cooler, not cold, but a little cooler in the overnights. When we get below 50 degrees in the overnights, and we get 3 or 4 of those days where we're at like 48s, 49s, okay, the smallies are going to move to their fall haunts, okay? And they call that the fall transition. And that bite can absolutely be fire, okay? It absolutely can be. And so you want to keep that in mind, okay? As you work your way down the upper Potomac. I'll let this run out, and you guys can see that as it moves its way down to Harpers Ferry. All right, so one of the things that makes it really difficult for a lot of people, a lot of anglers on the upper Potomac, is a lot of it looks the same. That's the biggest thing that you're going to get, is a lot of it looks the same, okay? And so it's harder to pinpoint where those smallmouth are going to be. Usually you want to look for, remember, in the upper Potomac, you don't have a lot of docks. You don't have a lot on this river system, right? So your structure is more or less any kind of down timber along the banks or rock, thermal rock lines, ledges, is drop-offs are what you're predominantly going to be fishing. In the late summer, overhanging areas providing shade are good areas where bass will move into. Okay, in the afternoon, late morning, afternoon, after they may have fed up. Now remember, a lot of this, depending upon your moon cycles on this river, you will get a lot of feeding during the night. Night fishing is actually one of the most underrated and probably underpublicized aspects of the upper Potomac, of people who catch really, really big fish at night, because especially on those nights where you've got those part of that lunar cycle where you've got full moon, everything out, it just triggers the fish in terms of those feeding habits. So it's that to consider that is, it does become very, very different. But when you can find those ledges and those drop offs and your pools, okay, by pools, we're really talking about deeper areas, maybe indentions into the river composition, where the water drops from 1.5 feet, 2 feet to a 3 foot, 4 foot, 1 foot to 2 foot change is really all you need. And then if you've got a rocky bottom as opposed to a sandier bottom, a rock or a shell bed bottom, all the better for the smallmouth in these sections. Okay. And you can replicate that pattern, okay? And then as you find ways and you figure out, when you start getting into fish, you can kind of replicate that pattern throughout your stretch, okay, of heading down the river here. And I'm about ready to go through a bend here. You can see here on the map rotation, okay? I might be able to pull that out a little bit more. As it heads around that bend. And oftentimes that's what you want to look for. Those just subtle deviations in your rock line, in your structure, behind your eddies, your current seams that you're going to find. Usually this stretch has to be flowing water, kind of what we call flat water, but there's a good thing right here. Right here on that structure there, okay? That would be a great spot to start at, working your way along that structure that was timber that had fallen into the river. So any kind of break in that. As you get lower, you're going to see a lot more ripples. You're going to see a lot more rock that's going to break the river up. That's going to create channel seams for the current flow, and then you're going to work you're going to use your seams, okay? And you're going to find those eddies. You're going to find those areas behind rocks close to current flow, close to those seams of where they will hang out during the day hours, okay? The bite tends to shut down in the summertime after about 10 a.m., 9-ish in the morning most of the time, and then picks back up about 4, 5, 6 p.m. a lot of times. That dead dog days of summer when it hits in August can be brutal between 11 and 4. Doesn't mean that you won't catch fish, but you're going to catch them in these shady areas, okay? That's pretty much predominantly. You're not usually going to find them in the middle river in 2 feet of water with that sun beating down on them. They're going to try and find other areas, okay? You can overlay this with your other map. We could use Google. You can use Google Earth to give you an idea of where you're at in terms of starting points or areas or significant, whether it be ledge lines, rock lines, island breaks, determining whether or not you're going to go right or left. For the most part, you get in below Dam 3 ruins above Harpers Ferry, it pretty much gets tough, okay? In terms of, most people are out before then, all right? Or they're getting out at the Dam 3 canoe access point, because you get in below there, and a lot of times, like right now, it's basically all rock. You can't really kayak through there, easily. You may be able to make your way. There's a zigzag of different areas, and staying towards on the West Virginia side. That side can get shallow too by Allen Park. You've got the footbridge to the Potomac River. A lot of people, there's a swimming area, Potomac River swimming area above Harpers, Maryland Heights Trailhead. You've got a lot of people that fish from the bank there. A lot of people, could be out on the river there. Maybe it's a little bit easier from when you get to Sandy Hook to go down towards the B&O River Bridge than it is in that section between Dam 3 and the Canal Lock, okay? Just because if you just pull it up on Google Earth, you'll know what I'm talking about. It's just tons and tons of rock and ledge, and, during the shallow times will make it really, really difficult. But you can skip that section. You can skip that and get out if you did your shuttle that way with a group of people parked to be able to there to go continue down to the next lock. You then would be able to proceed on down to Harpers Ferry pretty easily on the left side going downriver, which would be the Maryland side. On the Maryland side, down to the B&O Railroad Bridge, Maryland Heights is right there. Again, like I said, the Appalachian Trail. I don't know if we can like move this to where let's see where we want to get. But you're basically it's basically the same until you get to that Dam 3 area. Condition wise, for the most part. You can kind of see that in the images here. But you can play around with the terrain360.com. Plug in your area that you want to go to and do it that way. You just skip along that point to where you're going to get down to wherever you want to go. And then not every part of the stretch, obviously, of every river system is listed on Terrain 360, but most are. I mean, it's an unbelievable resource to use going forward for sure as you target these areas that you want to go at. And schedule your floats or schedule your just understanding where you can get in and out of the river system, gets to be, really, really good. I think we are right at the Chesapeake and Ohio. We're going to do that. Which is just above that access where you want to get out at Dam 3. And there you have it. That's it, all the way down. Okay, you can plug this in. This is a start at putting in your Dam 4 and going south to Harpers Ferry, which for the most part, like I said, is really Dam 4 to Dam 3 during your August period. There are some times of the year you could probably get lower, but it just gets really, really, really tight with rocks in shallow water. Can you be portaging? You'll be tethering if you're staying in the water, unless you get lucky, fortunate enough to find a good line. It just 9 times out of 10 you're going to be pulling and going rock to rock. It's a great place to get out and then get on a rock and fish in that regard for sure. But making it all the way down to Harpers Ferry during low level conditions definitely is going to be a lot more difficult. All right, mates. Hope you enjoyed this. Again, please check out Dam 4 to Harpers Ferry, Upper Potomac,